когда вчера сказал 8:15 возле Панчататы встречи. А транслитер есть? Может быть, Матаджи возьмется?
What were we reading yesterday? First chapter, Antya, lila? So, yesterday we were reading about the devotees traveling from Puri, from Mayapur to Puri, and how Shivananda Singh became Shivananda Singh became compassionate on a dog, and he brought the dog with him, and then the dog disappeared. When they got to Puri, they found the dog, and Lord Caitanya was feeding coconut pulp to the dog and saying, chant Hare Krishna. And what was the dog doing? Who remembers?
Chanting Hare Krishna. Started to chant.
Yeah. The dog was chanting. And then, as maybe even more amazing, what happened after? What did Shivananda Singh do?
He paid obeisances. He paid obeisances.
And why did he pay obeisances?
Because he made an offense.
He paid obeisances to the dog because one day he didn't feed the dog and the dog left, so he felt that he made an offense. Paid obeisances to the dog. Have any of you paid obeisances to a dog before? What's wrong with you? Indians,
we are trying to feed them. I'm trying to feed them.
Good.
So I don't
Yeah.
have to,
Right. But the Indians abuse them sometimes. Then you can pay obeisance. So this is Adi Lila, chapter 1, text 32. The next day, no one saw that dog, for it had obtained its spiritual body and departed for Vaikuṇṭha, the spiritual kingdom. Such are the transcendental pastimes of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, the son of Mother Sachi. He even delivered a dog simply by inducing it to chant Hare Krishna. Okay, I'm going to read the purport we read yesterday. It's better the second time. Did you know that? The next day, no one saw that dog, for it had obtained its spiritual body and departed for Vaikuṇṭha, the spiritual kingdom. This is the result of sadhu sangha, consequent association with Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, and promotion back home, back to Godhead. Now, this is the result of sadhu sangha. If you get sadhu sangha, you get to associate with Lord Caitanya, and then you get to go back to Godhead. This morning we associated with Lord Caitanya and all the Panchatattva. We went to Srivas Sangha. And we had kirtan. You never know where we're going to go on the morning walk. And if you miss it, you don't get to go. Who knows where we'll go tomorrow or the next day. But one day we'll go back to Bhaktivinoda Thakur's house. So we got the association of a devotee. That devotee introduced us to Prabhupada. By Prabhupada's association, we got Caitanya Mahaprabhu's association. By Caitanya Mahaprabhu's association, we go back to Godhead, whether you like it or not. I know some of you aren't ready yet, but Lord Caitanya will pull you back, even if you're screaming. I'm not ready! let's go. No. The result is possible even for a dog by the mercy of the Vaishnava. Therefore, everyone in the human form of life should be induced to associate with devotees. By rendering a little service, even by eating prasadam, what to speak of chanting and dancing, everyone can be promoted to Vaikuṇṭha. Wow, everyone. It is therefore requested that all our devotees in the ISKCON community become pure Vaishnavas, so that by their mercy, all the people of the world will be transferred to Vaikuṇṭha Loka even without their knowledge. Do you know what's so good about becoming a pure devotee? That when people see you, they become purified. So, a second-class devotee can get people to chant Hare Krishna. But a first-class devotee, he doesn't have to ask people to chant, because when they see them, they chant. That's pretty good. So if you become a pure devotee, all you have to do is stand on a busy street corner. Everyone will see you, and everyone will become purified. So the Shastra says, if you bathe in the Ganges, I always say Ganges, my daughter says, it's not Ganges, it's Ganges. If you bathe in the Ganges, it's going to take a long time to become purified. So there's a verse, it says after many times bathing in the Ganges, you'll be purified, but just seeing a pure devotee for a moment is more powerful than many baths in the Ganges. So if we all become pure devotees, when people see us, it's very good for them. Do you know that in Vedic times, if you saw an atheist or an offender or a very materialistic person, you would immediately run to the Ganges and bathe to become purified, having seen their face, to become contaminated. Did you know that? Lord Caitanya did that once. I forget. Who knows the story? What's it? Who was... Does anyone know that story? Something happened, I forget. And then he ran to the Ganga to be purified. Do you know the story? What happened?
Господь Нитянанда и Господь Чайтанья пришли к кому-то, мимо проходили, да, кто-то пил вино, и они И он, когда узнал, что этот человек там что-то вино,
Ganges and bathe. Yeah, I wasn't thinking of that story, but that's a good story. So there are many incidents like that. And Prabhupada said something very interesting. The topic of looking at magazines came up, like news magazines. And Prabhupada said, don't look at those magazines, because in the magazines are the faces of the politicians. And if you see their faces, you become contaminated. Isn't that interesting?
But it's impossible to avoid it.
Yeah, it's impossible to avoid. But it's a principle that if you're a devotee, your presence purifies. If you're not a devotee, your presence doesn't purify. Or in some cases, it actually can have a negative influence on people. Isn't that interesting? So, in class a few days ago, this question came up, how to preach. The best way, Bhakti Vidyapurna Swami said, the best way is to do what? Become a pure devotee. the best way. And all you have to do is exist. And because you exist, people will become purified. And this was actually Prabhupada's vision. You know, when it's interesting to think, when Prabhupada was on the boat, imagine, what was he thinking? He's coming to the West. Try to imagine what he was thinking. He had conceptualized a movement, a Krishna conscious movement. He conceptualized it. Now he's coming to this unknown place, and what is he thinking, or what's his goal, his long-range plan? Of course, we know he had many, but one of them was, if I can make pure devotees, then they will make pure devotees. Then they will make pure devotees. And then if we expand, Prabhupada said 1% of the world becomes devotees, it would change the world. Isn't that interesting? 1%. I actually read, someone did some survey how people affect one another, and someone else said something similar. 1% could change the rest of the 99%. But this was actually Prabhupada's vision. I will make devotees, I will initiate devotees, they will become Brahmins, they will teach, they will set an example by their lifestyle, and by their purity, they will purify others. That was Prabhupada's mission. And Prabhupada had faith that the holy name and the four regulative principles would do that. And deity worship and seva. If we did that, we would become pure enough that we could go around the world and purify others. And he had so much faith in that, that even devotees in the movement for 6 months were becoming presidents. 6 months, 8 months, 1 year. And people were joining. Isn't that amazing? So, you know, I told the story at initiation about how Prabhupada asked one of his disciples to chant on the beads of an initiate. And the disciple said, I'm not pure enough to chant on the beads of my godbrothers or godsisters. Prabhupada said, my order is pure. So if you execute my order, then your chanting is pure. So that's a very, very important principle. Because we might think, I'm not pure. All right, that may be true. But the process is pure. Yes, process is pure. I may not be pure, but I'm following something pure. Okay, I may not be that powerful, but if I'm touching the plug and Anurada's touching me, we're both, and she touches Erica, Erica's shaking, and Yurga, Jugala, the whole room could be shaking, right? Just from me touching the plug, and it's not even my power that's doing it. It's borrowed power coming through me. So I remember here in Mayapur, I think it was 1978, one of our leaders we're walking back from the Ganga, and he was having a realization. He said, devotees don't realize how powerful they are. Because Krishna Shakti Vina, Nahi Tara Pravartana. Without Krishna Shakti, you can't be successful. So we were having so much success, so it wasn't our Shakti, it wasn't Mahatma Shakti. It was Krishna Shakti. It wasn't Anuradha Shakti or Krishna Karshani Shakti. It was Krishna Shakti. But it was going through us. And so Prabhupada always said, if you're willing, then Krishna Shakti will go through you. And so it was going through us. And so even though we weren't pure, because we were acting purely, it was having the same effect. And people were becoming devotees. It's amazing. Isn't it? You know, like you've been a devotee for a year and you go off somewhere and you go to England. All right, let's go to England. We'll meet the Beatles, Okay. Yeah, let's do it. It's 1967 and I tell you all, I'm going to England to meet the Beatles. You'd think, Prabhu, did you get enough rest last night? Did you eat too much? Wouldn't you think? And they did it, and now look at England. It started with 3 couples who've been devotees maybe a year. And now look at it. If the order is pure, then your service is pure. So that's Prabhupada's vision, and I think I was asking Prayag, I said, what did you get from the retreat? He said, the thing I got most was the why. You need good whys. You need good reasons to do something. So, this is a really powerful why. To understand why Prabhupada started ISKCON, this is one of the whys, not the only why, but this is one of the whys, to create pure devotees. One of the main whys, to create pure devotees. 1 pure devotee, 2 pure devotees, 3, 4, 5. To create this.
But what is the definition of pure devotee?
One who follows purely the order. And so, generations of pure devotees. Then we heard this beautiful story at initiation where Prabhupada told one of his disciples, he said, how can I serve you? He said, you can serve me by going where I have not gone. But Prabhupada, where have you not gone? I have not gone into the future. What a beautiful story. You can serve me by becoming a pure devotee. After I'm gone, you take that into the future. So that's what's happening. We're receiving from Prabhupada, we give it to you. You get it, you go into the future. And unless I live to be 160, you'll probably outlive me. Well, I don't have to live that long. 130. 100. She blessed me for 108. Maybe I will outlive somebody.
At least.
At least 108. But it blessed me that I'm healthy. I can still dance. If I can't dance, I don't want to live. I live to dance. We've been given it by Prabhupada. We give it to you. You take it, you live it, and then you give it to others. They take it and they give it to others. Because, here's the bad news. What did we find out? That only one religious movement out of 1,000 makes it for 4 generations. So, but the way they calculate 4 generations is different than us. It starts with Prabhupada. Prabhupada disciples are the 2nd generation. You are the 3rd, your children are the 4th. So that, what they're saying is, only 1 out of 1,000 makes it past your children. That's pretty scary. And one of the reasons is that as the generations go by, they forget why the movement was created. They lose a lot of things. They lose the purity, they lose a lot of knowledge is lost, context is lost, like, you're hearing about ISKCON in the beginning and you're living it now, but generations later they may lose context and everyone becomes a devotee just to eat the chorus and have good halava. And there's no mission, they don't understand that. So, the why is so important. What's the name of the book? It starts with why?
Start with the why.
Start with the why. So why did Prabhupada create ISKCON? He created ISKCON to create pure devotees who would create other pure devotees who would create other pure devotees. And 1% of pure devotees would change the world. So when you are helping other devotees, tell them why ISKCON was created and tell them their role. Become pure devotees. That's what Prabhupada is saying here, right? Should I read it again? I think I will. By rendering a little service, even by eating prasadam, what to speak of chanting and dancing, everyone can be promoted to Vaikuṇṭha Loka. I think by everyone, Prabhupada means anyone. Well, maybe he means, I think he means anyone. Anyone who takes part. It is therefore requested that all our devotees in the ISKCON community become pure Vaishnavas, so that by their mercy, all the people of the world will be transferred to Vaikuṇṭha Loka even without their knowledge. So, what Prabhupada wanted, he wanted that all of us become Krishna conscious and go back to Godhead. But he also wanted that we take as many people with us, we don't go alone. If you go back to Godhead alone, not good. They may not like you when you get there.
I think it's impossible to get alone, to come back alone, because we can come back like out of mercy from Radharani, and we can get this mercy by giving Krishna conscious to Krishna consciousness to
Yeah,
others.
that's true. Anyway, we can make a t-shirt. Don't end up back to Godhead alone. Or you'll be in trouble. Don't go back to Godhead alone. Good t-shirt. There's our t-shirt makers here. Priya. Don't go back to Godhead alone. She's gonna have to open a 5,000 square foot store with all the t-shirts ideas I've given her. She's going to become rich and famous. Have the most amazing t-shirts. Of course, for her business to be successful, everyone has to become a devotee. So you have to make everyone a devotee, then she'll get rich. Because my t-shirts are for devotees. Everyone should be given a chance to take prasadam and thus be induced to chant the holy names, Hare Krishna, and dance in ecstasy. So this is very important. We were talking a couple of weeks ago about what it's very important for us as devotees, and this sounds a little strange, maybe to you, but ecstasy, tasting and experiencing ecstasy is very important, and that's actually one of the things that our life is about, is to experience ecstasy. The more ecstasy you experience, the more ecstatic you become. No, that's redundant. The more ecstasy you experience, the more you want to be Krishna conscious, the more you're absorbed, the more you're relishing. Ecstasy just means you're not being touched by the modes of nature anymore. That's when you get ecstasy. So you could come to this class completely in the mode of ignorance. You just woke up 5 minutes before the class. You had a huge fight with somebody. And then you ate 3 pounds of halva. And then you came here. And you could be completely, as we say in America, moded out. Completely moded out. And then the class is describing all these amazing lilas, and you're listening, and you're rising above ignorance into passion, into goodness, and then transcendental. And you become ecstatic. It's possible, right? And then you leave the class feeling inspired. So we had an ecstatic kirtan today at Srivasanga, didn't we? Yes?
Yes.
I feel really sorry for those of you who didn't come. I was crying, thinking of all of you. I had to give me packs of tissues as I'm thinking you were missing this ecstasy. So in a sense, you can say the preacher, the lead Bhakti Vriksha leader, the temple president, the preacher, the guru, they're all trying to give people a taste of ecstasy. Because if they have ecstasy, then your Krishna consciousness becomes solid. So that's what we want. And sometimes Prabhupada spoke about this. He said, well, chant like this, it will increase the ecstasy. That's an interesting statement. If you do this, it will increase the ecstasy. So ecstasy is important. Prabhu, what are you doing today? I'm looking for ecstasy. Wherever I can get it. In the class, in the kirtan, in the greeting of the deities, in the sangha, in the reading. I'm looking for ecstasy, and if you find it, then you're well situated in Krishna consciousness. Find it, relish it.
Ecstasy is a kind of byproduct, because if we are looking for ecstasy, we will not get it. We are getting it because of circumstances. You know what I mean? Like,
Yes and
I'm
no.
looking for ecstasy. Yeah,
Yes and no.
what
Well,
did you-
then maybe I'd say churning the ocean of nectar. You have to learn how to churn the ocean of nectar to produce the ecstasy.
Because for me, ecstasy sounds very serious. I always think that ecstasy is only reserved for this high top devotees, like what we are experiencing. It's like a shade of it, or just some
That's-
kind of joy.
That's being on that platform 24/7. But you can get ecstasy. Definitely, if the kirtan's ecstatic, or the class is special, or the prasadam is really good. It just ecstasy as a platform is constant, so we're not there yet.
Yeah.
But ecstasy, you can get ecstasy, and you should. You know, you think, okay, I want to get some devotees together, and we're going to discuss this lila. That will be ecstatic. So let's have a kirtan on the boat tomorrow night at 4:30 on the Ganga. That will be ecstatic. Actually, we're going to do that, right? What? You hope? What? Oh, you mean you want me to approve? Yeah, yeah. Okay, how many want to go on the boat tomorrow night? All right. How many don't want to go on the boat tomorrow night? How many don't know what they want to do with their life? Okay, so we'll do it. So invite your friends. We have to put an ad then on Mayapur forum. I'm going to see if I can invite some other devotees to come. That would be nice. Some God brothers or something. So what time? 4:30 to 7:30. 4 to 7. 4 to 7. Should we do? Let's do 4:30 to 7:30. 2 hours was not enough. And then we can read some lila.
What about from 4? Because the later it gets, the more like it gets mosquitoes and
Yeah, 4 would be better.
Mosquitoes. You don't like mosquitoes? Can you get some cow dung and we can and bowls and cow dung and clay pots and we can burn and it keeps the mosquitoes away? Does anyone know if there's a flower that keeps mosquitoes away?
they don't like lemongrass.
They don't?
Cloves.
Cloves?
Yeah, cloves.
Okay, so sometimes we organize something with the idea that it'll increase our ecstasy. Because that ecstasy actually awakens devotion. It's not sense gratification. It's different. And materially, of course, we want to enjoy sense gratification. So this is different. Where's Krishna Priya? Say hi to Jai Gopal.
Hi. Hi, Toko.
Her husband.
Ah, okay. Hi to her husband.
Everyone say hi, Jai Gopal. And we're going to make him feel bad now.
Yeah.
Too bad you're not here. You're missing it out. You're missing out on it. That creates a transcendental. I do that just to create a transcendental desire. Too bad you missed it today.
Yeah, you did it with me.
Yeah, you really blew it. So now you can feel more anxious. So we can read some more. Meanwhile, following the order of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, Srila Rupa Goswami returned to Vrindavan. He desired to write dramas concerning the pastimes of Lord Krishna. In Vrindavan, Rupa Goswami began to write a drama. In particular, he composed the introductory verses to invoke good fortune. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur quotes from the Nataka Chandrika, wherein it is written, and he quotes Sanskrit, and in the 6th chapter of Sahitya Darpana, these are texts about drama. The introductory portion of a drama which is written to invoke good fortune is called Nandi Shloka. So this Nataka Chandrika is a book about how to write dramas. On his way to Gauda Desh, Rupa Goswami had been thinking of how to write the action of the drama. Thus he made some notes and began to write. In this way, the two brothers, Rupa and Anupam, reached Bengal, but when they arrived there, Anupam died. Formerly, when a person died, it was commonly said that he had attained the shelter of Mother Ganges, even if he did not die on the bank of the Ganges. It is customary among Hindus to carry a dying person to a nearby bank of the Ganges. For if one dies on the bank of the Ganges, his soul is considered to reach the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu, wherefrom the Ganges flows. But tomorrow night, no one is allowed to drown themselves in the Ganges. There was some delay because of the death of Anupam, and therefore when Rupa Goswami went to Bengal to see the devotees there, he could not get in touch with them because they had already left. In the province of Orissa, there is a place known as Satyabhama Pura. Srila Rupa Goswami rested for a night in that village on his way to Jagannath Puri. So he went back to Bengal, the devotees had left, now he's going to Orissa. While resting in Satyabhama Pura, he dreamed that a celestially beautiful woman came before him and very mercifully gave him the following order. Who do you think that woman was? Yes. So he's in Satyabhama Pura and he has a dream, and Satyabhama comes and tells him, write a separate drama about me. By my mercy, it will be extraordinarily beautiful. After having that dream, Srila Rupa Goswami considered, it is the order of Satyabhama that I write a separate drama for her. I have brought together in one work all the pastimes performed by Lord Krishna in Vrindavan and in Dwarka. Now I shall have to divide them into two dramas. Thus absorbed in thought, he quickly reached Jagannath Puri. When he arrived, he approached the hut of Thakur Haridas. Quickly reached Jagannath Puri. How quick is quickly by foot? Do you know the Gurukul boys? They go to Puri and they do a yatra and they walk all the way back to Mayapur. Did you know that? Yeah. And they follow some vratas, like they beg to eat, and if they don't get any food, they don't eat. Things like that. You want to join them?
But in Poland, every year, we have like a holy place.
Mm-hmm.
Like many people from all over the Poland are going by foot there. And it's taking like 2 weeks.
Oh, wow.
Pray for mercy, and every year during the summer it's happening.
Mm.
And some are going, like when it's only 1 kilometer, they are going on their knees.
Wow.
Yeah. because there is like a holy painting there of this Holy Mary. Oh, yeah. And, yeah.
Similar in Jerusalem. I went to Jerusalem and there are lots of groups singing and doing parikrama. And they have their own Lowy Bazaar there. It's exactly the same. And they have the Samadhi of Jesus there, where he's buried. Birthplace, Mother Mary's place, and then pilgrims come and out of affection, love, and mercy, Haridas Thakur told Srila Rupa Goswami, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has already informed me that you would come here. After seeing the Upalabhoga ceremony at the Jagannath temple, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would regularly come to see Haridas every day. Thus he suddenly arrived there. And this Mahaprabhu knows the heart of all the devotees, so Rupa Goswami goes to the home of Haridas, and Mahaprabhu knows. So he comes there, because Rupa Goswami obviously wants to see him. When the Lord arrived, Rupa Goswami immediately offered his obeisances. Haridas informed the Lord, "This is Rupa Goswami offering you obeisances." And the Lord, what did the Lord do? What do you think he did? What do we do at the workshop before every break? The Lord embraced him. So someone was saying that embracing is not part of the Vaishnava culture, but they are wrong. This is Rupa Goswami offering the obeisances, and the Lord embraced him. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then sat down with Thakur Haridas and Rupa Goswami. They inquired from one another about auspicious news, and then continued to talk together for some time. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu inquired about Sanatana Goswami, Rupa Goswami replied, "I did not meet him. I came by the path on the bank of the Ganges, whereas Sanatana came by the public road. Therefore, we did not meet." In Prayag, I heard that he had already gone to Vrindavan. Rupa Goswami next informed the Lord about the death of Anupam. After allotting residential quarters there to Rupa Goswami, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left. Then all of the Lord's personal associates met Rupa Goswami. On the next day, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu again met Rupa Goswami, and with great mercy the Lord introduced him to all the devotees. This is beautiful pastime. Srila Rupa Goswami offered his respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of them, all the devotees. And all the devotees by their mercy embraced him. Who said devotees shouldn't embrace? Who was that rascal? Let me meet that rascal. They all met and they all embraced.
And Godhead, yeah, they were like constantly embracing each other.
Yeah. There's a verse, "O my Lord, to glorify you, to glorify the devotee is the perfection of speech. To see the devotee is the perfection of the eye. And to embrace the devotee is the perfection of touch." What am I going to touch? Touch your devotee. And then you get purified. Yes. And it's hard to fight with someone you're embracing. So if anyone's arguing with you, just go up and embrace them. We were learning yesterday how to deal with someone who says you are something or you did something that you are not or you didn't do. You are a liar. What do you do? They gave us different techniques. They didn't give us embracing, but that might be the best one. You can try it sometime. You're a liar. And is it okay if this liar gives you a hug? Is that okay? Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu told Advaita Acharya Nityananda Prabhu, you should both show your mercy wholeheartedly to Rupa Goswami. May Rupa Goswami, by your mercy, become so powerful that he will be able to describe the transcendental mellows of devotional service. Thus Rupa Goswami became the object of love and affection for all the devotees of the Lord, including those who came from Bengal and those who resided in Orissa. Every day, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would go to see Rupa Goswami, and whatever prasadam he received from the temple, he would deliver to Rupa Goswami and Haridas Thakur. He would talk for some time with them both, and then leave to perform his noontime duties. In this way, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's dealings with them continued every day. Thus, receiving the transcendental favor of the Lord, Sri Rupa Goswami felt unlimited pleasure. This is nice because it's like we all want to feel pleasure, and then this is showing how when you get Krishna's mercy, that's when you feel pleasure. Not the other pleasure you feel is sensual pleasure. So it's not very deep and it doesn't last very long. So if you really want to be happy, then you want to please the devotee, please the Lord. You know, one time, Prabhupada asked the devotees and said, why are we distributing books? That was Prabhupada's question to the devotees. Why do we distribute books? And they gave so many reasons, and Prabhupada said, we are distributing books because we want to see Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur smile. And if we can see him smile, that's everything. There's no greater pleasure than that. So if we can please our Guru, we can please Prabhupada, we can please Krishna. It doesn't get any better than that. And you can please your senses. But in Krishna consciousness, we're only supposed to please our senses to the degree that they need in order that we can keep ourselves from going crazy, basically. You know, if you don't eat, you'll go crazy. If you don't sleep, you'll go crazy. Right? If you don't mate, for some of us, some people have to be married to go crazy. And defending is like accumulation, you know, accumulate enough so you feel secure. So we have to do those things. And once you do that enough, then now you can focus on pleasing Krishna. But you don't do those things to make yourself happy. You just do those things so you can focus on Krishna, and then when you please Krishna, he makes you happy. And the materialists, they don't understand that. They do those things to make themselves happy, and then on Sunday for an hour they focus on Krishna. But we do those things so we can just be stable, so that we can focus on Krishna all the other time. Right? And then you're happy. Yes. Yeah. After Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, taking all his devotees with him, performed the Gundicha Marjanam, washing and cleansing of the Gundicha temple, he went to the garden known as can't read it. Jota, and accepted prasadam at a picnic within the garden. Haridas Thakur and Rupa Goswami saw that all the devotees were accepting prasadam and chanting the holy name of Hari. They were both greatly pleased. When Haridas Thakur and Rupa Goswami saw the devotees taking prasadam, they were pleased. When they received the remnants of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's prasadam through Govinda, they respected it, and then they began to dance in
Ecstasy.
Ecstasy is very important. That's what we learned today. If you are ecstatic and people see you, they're going to wonder what's going on. Yes?
Yes.
Why are you so happy? You know, there was, I'm going to give you an idea for an ad you can do in your country. I don't know if you've seen this ad in your country, but in America, they would take a celebrity and they would paint like a mustache of milk on their face, because the milk industry was practically going bankrupt. This ad saved the milk industry. Did you know that? People weren't drinking milk. So they'd get a celebrity, say, drink, and they'd get this milk mustache, and I guess they'd have a glass of milk, and all the ad would say is, "Got milk?" with a question mark. And you'd see these ads everywhere. Got milk? And it saved the milk industry. So my idea was, you have like a kirtan party, but they pose, and they all these devotees with these blissful faces, Right after the Sunday feast, you take the picture, After the kirtan and prasadam, you take the picture. And then the sign is, "Got bliss?" And then you have these billboards all over the country, and everywhere people go, they see the happy faces of devotees, and it says, "Got bliss?" And that's going to revolutionize the preaching. And then people go, and "God bless," and people will think, "Not until Friday night when I get drunk." So, what is this bliss they're talking about? They're always happy. So, if we have ecstasy and bliss, we'll be very effective in preaching. But if we're as miserable as everybody else, then you'll preach to them and they'll say, "I'm already miserable, and you look pretty miserable, so, what's the use? Why should I? I'm going to give up meat eating, illicit sex, intoxication, and gambling. I'll become miserable like you. Well, I'd rather, do it and be miserable than give it up and be miserable." So we can stop. You have any questions or comments? Yes.
You said that we should become a pure devotees. Because of that, we're gonna change or have a positive influence on people. But I was wondering, because Prabhupada gave a few definitions of pure devotee. So this basic was that we are just chanting our rounds and we are following the rules. But it seems that it's not the level that we can really influence and change the hearts of the people.
Well, it's all the other instructions also. You're chanting purely, without offense. Then you're following all the other instructions. And if you do that, then you can teach other people to do it. And if they do it, they'll become purified. Because that's what happened. Like I said, we were quite effective very early on, but we were pretty strict in our lifestyle. We live in the temple. So we were very strict about the morning program and strict about Prabhupada's instructions. What it was like in those days, if Prabhupada said something that changed the way things were going, immediately everything just shifted, like in 24 hours, the whole movement. It's amazing, We were going out on Harinam. On Friday nights and Saturday nights, we would stay out 11, 12, 1 o'clock. Because that's when all the people were out. And it was very effective for distributing books and collecting money. But at a certain point, because we weren't following the morning program, because we're getting back late, some things were happening in ISKCON that indicated there was some contamination. So Prabhupada said, stop going out late, go to bed early, have Mangal Arti every day. So that was it. One day the movement changed, nobody going out late. And so we were very young devotees, so we didn't rationalize it but, Rupa Goswami says this, this time, place, circumstance, so maybe in San Francisco they shouldn't stay out late, but we didn't do any of that like we do now. We are so good at it, but and that was that time, and now you got to be real, and it was just like, okay, the next day, no late night Sankirtan internationally, it was finished. So you can understand that in that kind of situation where we were so dependent on Prabhupada's instructions that we would do whatever he said, we could be extremely effective. Even though we weren't pure, but the purity was that we were willing to follow. And I told this story before, but I think it's extremely important. When Prabhupada came with his disciples to India, they were criticized. Because they are Americans, Americans. Not so refined. Hare Krishna, Prabhu. I'm from America. Let's go on Sankirtan. Come on. They used to have these two sannyasis, They were called the mean swamis. Let's go on Sankirtan. We're going to beat it out. Yeah, let's beat it out, 22-year-olds. So it's like very unrefined. That's what they used to say, just like that. Hey, Swami, let's go beat it out. Hey guys, come on. It was like, it was kind of like the mafia on Sankirtan. And so, when Indian people saw that, it was like, these are devotees? Jagai Madai just surrendered? And they would criticize Prabhupada. Your devotees are doing this and doing that, and they don't have the culture, they don't know how to do it. They told me this. And Prabhupada said, I know that. And Prabhupada knew this. Obviously he knew it because he was living with us. But he never said anything to us. Because it wasn't that important for him, because he knew that over time we would learn. But you know what he told that man? He said, I know. He said, but they have one good quality, that whatever I tell them to do, they'll do it. And you might think, well, they're disciples. But if you actually study disciples, not all disciples do what their what their spiritual master tells them to do so easily as we did. Just Prabhupada said this, okay. It was like we didn't think. It's just like, I don't know what to do, Prabhupada knows. So Prabhupada noticed that. And then one leading Vaishnava who was closely associated with ISKCON, he said, I'd never seen anywhere in Gaudiya Math or after Gaudiya Math the faith on the level of the disciples in ISKCON for their gurus. We've never seen this level of faith before. So, because we came from nothing, we didn't know anything. And so whatever Prabhupada said, we would just do it. So that was our qualification. And so because of that, so I'll follow his instruction. I don't even understand it so well, and I may be impure, but I'll follow it. And so then Krishna Shakti, Vina Nahitar Pravartana. Without Krishna Shakti, it doesn't work. And because I followed, I got Krishna Shakti, and it worked. And I was successful. So that's what we have to do. Yes, there is another level of pure devotee, bhava, prema. But a lot of times Prabhupada used purity in this sense, that I give you an instruction, you follow it sincerely to the best of your ability, then you're a pure devotee. At least that's pure devotional service. That's another way of saying, I'm engaged in pure devotional service, although I'm not completely pure. But because I'm following the order of my guru, the service is pure. So it's pure devotional service. So if we follow purely, we can give it to other people, and they'll follow purely, they'll become purified. They'll give it to other people. So that sense of become pure. Purely follow what your guru gives you. Hare Krishna. It's fun to follow purely. It hurts a little in the beginning. But in the end, it's really good. And not following doesn't hurt in the beginning, it just hurts in the end. And then you can lament and say, I should have followed what he said. And then you feel really bad. So the pain lasts The pain is quicker if you just follow. And it lasts longer if you don't follow. If you can please Prabhupada, there's no happiness equal to that. In the three worlds, there's no happiness equal to that. You believe me?
Yes.
That's my experience. Yes.
Roger, I have a question regarding you were giving the example of movement change
Yeah.
in a night. I was thinking at that time, particular time, only Prabhupada was the inspiration and he
Yes.
was giving the instructions. And
Yes.
what we see right now, there are so many leaders and
Yes.
different moods. And devotees are also hearing from everyone. And sometimes we find it difficult, one particular mood for one particular thing.
Yes.
So,
What to do?
yes, and what I feel when there is one person or one inspiration, it's easy to follow.
Yes, that's true. I think the answer to your question would depend on the person. Because let's say you're here in Mayapur or wherever you are and you hear different classes. Now let's say you understand the moods are different. Not you understand, you can see it's obvious and it even feels different. But you understand they're all aspects of Prabhupada. So you could use that to broaden your view of Krishna consciousness rather than to create, no, but he said in class yesterday, now you're saying this. Oh, both things are actually true. And then last week he said this, and the week before she said that, and then you have a very broad understanding. A mistake could possibly be in this situation that when you hear one thing, you think it negates the other. It might seem like it, but it doesn't. Like we were talking about that in the workshop. I think we were talking about it, or in the evening class. It was the evening class. Book distribution is the most important service. Gurukul is the most important service. College preaching is the most important service. Bhaktivedanta Institute, scientific preaching is the most important service. Prabhupada told the mothers, your children is your most important service. So from the material point of view, we think, well, how can more than one thing be most important? So I think we have to see the classes, I give a class and say, this is the most important. You give a class, say, this is the most important. He gives a class, say, they're all most important. And so now you have a broader view. So that's one way of doing it. Now, we learned yesterday that one out of 6 of you can't do that. You'll just have to take one thing and go with it and oppose the other. Well, this is right, that must be wrong. Because that's how your mind works. But if your mind does work that way, at least recognize that that's not the way the world works. It's only the way you're seeing it. So, Prabhupada gave us many things, and Prabhupada said many things, and Prabhupada's personality is not, it's dynamic, you can say. It's multifaceted. Which is so good because we all can find a place in ISKCON. So, and Prabhupada himself has said that sometimes acharyas disagree. But sometimes disagreements are also because of it happened in a different yuga. The same lila in another yuga. So it happened differently. So there may be, more technical reasons why they disagree, or it may be angles of what they of a vision for preaching, or within a certain context they're seeing the verse. There's I was looking for this letter. This is such an important letter. I'm gonna hopefully I can find it. But Prabhupada was was trying to enlist someone in preaching. Maybe I mentioned this before, but to me it's very significant. He was trying to enlist, in the early days when he was in America, he was trying to enlist people to come to America. And he was trying to enlist one person. But he had a disagreement with this person about what Bhaktisiddhanta wanted. And when they were discussing preaching together in America, this disagreement came up, that Bhaktisiddhanta wanted this, no, he didn't, he wanted this. And it was a very, very central issue. It was very heated, emotionally charged, controversial. It wasn't a minor detail. It was a very big issue. In my estimation, it was a big issue. And so Prabhupada's asking, please come and help me in America. And within that letter, they're discussing this other controversy. Bhaktisiddhanta wanted this way. No, he wanted this. Or he said this, but he meant this. No, he meant that. And what's so interesting about it, because the issue was so big and so divisive, in the letter, Prabhupada said something like, never mind, we're talking about cooperation, so let's just not talk about this. So he had his focus on cooperation. Some people have their focus not on cooperation. They have their focus on dissension. So it depends how you look at it. And maybe your nature is you focus on one, and that causes you to think the other one is wrong. So you have your nature is dissension. If this is right, that must be wrong. So if that's your nature, then try to understand if this is right, it doesn't necessarily mean that is wrong. And obviously, if some devotees are preaching this and some devotees are preaching that, then that obviously has some validity. Otherwise, why would anybody preach it? But if 1,000 devotees preach this and you've only heard one devotee preach that, then you might question, was that correct understanding? But if many are preaching both, that means they're getting it from Prabhupada and they're understanding it in a particular way. Does that make sense? So, a lot of it depends on you, how you process it. There's a lot to say about that. We studied this yesterday. We have a group. This is the first time we've met personally. And so yesterday was a discussion about group dynamics and how you discuss issues from different sides. And Brajabihari was saying, in logic, the proper way to argue is not to defeat another person, but come up with a conclusion. He said, but there are some people whose style is to argue, not even to come up with a conclusion, just to defeat the other person. So that's a kind of style of arguing. They're not interested in truth, just interested in defeating or exposing. And so, that's something we have to look at in ourselves. And there's, different styles of arguing where you somehow or other can't see another point of view other than your own. And you've already come to a decision. So that is very common. Because, I heard this in class last year, now I'm hearing this. So for a year you've been thinking like this, and now someone comes and changes that. That's hard to hear that. But maybe there's validity. Maybe it can add to this idea, maybe expand it. So that might be something to consider. Especially in a movement like this. We don't have the same dynamics as when Prabhupada was here. It was so interesting when Prabhupada was here. Let's say a question came up. Chocolate, no chocolate. Really important issues, right?
The most
In fact, I will suggest that our meeting today is dedicated to chocolate or no chocolate. Or maybe it's what kind of chocolate. Maybe that's a better news. As I was told, some chocolates are not stimulating and some are. Whether it was a little issue or a big issue, it would go to Prabhupada. Prabhupada would say yes or no, or whatever he would say to explain it. That was it. It's over. Finished. Prabhupada, women gurus, no gurus. Yes, no, over. No more. We didn't have to talk about it. I didn't have to say you're stupid because you think women should be gurus, or you're not stupid because, you didn't have to do that. It's just finished. So obviously we're in a much different situation, which requires a different mindset. That was easy. We were just told. Now we're trying to discuss, look at things without judging the person. So we had, in the session, we were learning different ways people argue. And one of the ways people argue is by criticizing the person. They completely divert from the argument. So Amrita Gaur says, women shouldn't be gurus. Yeah, it's because he's afraid of women, I know him, it's like he had a really bad relationship with his mother. His sister used to beat him up. And that's, has nothing to do with the issue, should women be, right? I just attack him. Have you ever done that or seen somebody do that? Yeah, so we have to be aware. If you let women become gurus, pretty soon all the women in ISKCON are going to become gurus. And then, women are going to take over, and that's not Vedic culture.
We are ready.
That's called...
We are just waiting for it.
That's called slippery slope. If you do this, this will happen. There's no evidence that'll happen. But it was just, and there's so many that we do. You divert the argument to something else. But the point of showing that is just to see how your own bias and prejudice in your mind works. That you could be doing those things and then misunderstanding the whole topic. It's very interesting and important. Yes.
Have you ever seen these people who are more narrow-minded change the during vaccine?
It's possible, yeah. I've never seen, but it's possible. That is. I think for some it's not. But, I was thinking about this yesterday. I'm thinking, if you're like that, but what you're focused on is completely true and right, and it doesn't polarize the situation, then, it can be used in a healthy way. But someone was asking, Erica was asking me, he said, well, if you're black and white, can it change? And I'm not an expert, maybe Jenny could say, but I could say, at least if you're aware of it, you can say, okay, I have this tendency that I just see black and white, and now I'm aware of it, so when we're discussing an issue, I could think, I can't agree with that side, because for me, it's one side or the other, there's nothing in the middle. So at least, I'm aware of it. And maybe when it comes time to vote, you abstain because you realize I can't understand this issue because the way my mind works. Have you ever said something like, I just can't understand? I just can't understand Krishna Priya. And we think it's her fault. But that reveals something about you, that you can't understand a different point of view. That's really what you're saying. I just can't understand why I just can't understand why so-and-so said this. I just can't understand why he would want to do this. Right? So all you're doing is admitting your inability to understand another person. And you don't even realize it. Does that make sense? Yes?
Is it related to empathy then?
Yeah. If you relate to empathy, you relate to many things. But what I see Prabhupada wanted us to do is be more self-aware, and we read that quote, Bhaktisiddhanta, that amazing quote, just correct yourself, you'll have no time to find fault with others. You ever somebody wants to talk bad about somebody, they come up to you and you're not in the mood and you have too many things to do. I'm sorry, Prabhu, I don't have time. Or the inclination. So that's nice, because now you're more self-aware that if I get into this, I'm wasting time that could be used for understanding how I can improve. So self-awareness helps a lot. Or I'm being black and white, or I that exercise we did, if you don't agree with somebody, why? What bothers you? What beliefs are there? These are things that are important. Because, okay, I have a nature, but at least if I'm aware of it, then I say, oh, that's why I don't like what he's saying, because my mother used to beat me up. So like I think of women gurus, I think they're going to beat up people. That's why I don't like women gurus. It's not a philosophical thing. I don't want all these women beating their disciples up. But even though that sounds funny, but that could be a reason. So we were discussing that there are many reasons that we might judge or misunderstand or not get along. And the interesting thing about it is that the training we did yesterday was given to the GBC because they have to make decisions and discuss. And so they found that sometimes their discussions got dysfunctional and they needed guidelines. So they sat together and created guidelines, and they also got training by a devotee who went to university to understand these things, how to resolve conflict. So even amongst very senior devotees they need it, which is I don't know, should we say, it's interesting that can happen because of our natures. Even though we're good devotees, but our natures are still our nature. So if we're more aware of our nature, when I say something, and then I realize, oh, that's why I said it, because I have this nature. Let's say you say something really stupid, and he says something really intelligent, and I say, well, let's try to harmonize this. And everyone's thinking, what she said is wrong, and what he said is right. Why would you want to harmonize it? And I realized, oh yeah, that's my nature. I want to harmonize everything, even the wrong things. So I said, oh yeah, I better, we can't harmonize this. She was wrong. So, you understand?
Yes.
Yes?
But I was thinking can be really dangerous if these black and white people come into a position of leadership, right? Can we avoid that?
Can we avoid that? Give them a black and white test?
Yeah. No, this might be not good if you have a position.
There's a black square, a gray square, and a white square. What do you see? I see black, I see white. You see gray? No. Black. Okay, next. This guru is disqualified. That's the only test we need to become a guru, right? The answer to her question is, it's very simple. If you become a leader, don't be black and white, because you can't do anything about anybody else. So when we talk about these things, it's meant for us. And the danger is we see it in other people and we become offensive. So we always want to see it in terms of ourselves. I think we talked about this in the seminar, that the danger of knowledge is that you start to see what's wrong with other people. And sometimes you don't even see what's wrong with yourself, you only see what's wrong with other people. And then so you get knowledge and it makes you offensive. Like the joke, the marriage seminar, and the facilitator is speaking about women, how to be a good wife. And of course the wife is sitting next to him. And when he starts speaking, then the husband goes, listen. And then when the facilitator starts speaking about men, she's like, listen to him. So it's always about the other. I learned something and then I apply it to everybody else but myself. That's the mistake. Okay, I've just learned they're black and white thinkers, and now I'm talking to someone who, oh, he's a black and white. Or, and I don't see it in myself. That would be a mistake. And if someone is a black and white, and you're discussing an issue, it's good to know that he's either going to be extremely on one side or the other. There won't be anything in the middle. So at least you know that. Oh, I'm talking to a black and white. So, oh, thank you. What do you think about? I think this. You don't think it could be a little like this? No. Prabhupada said, But some people, they don't feel it. No. Well, those people, we don't need them in ISKCON, But you know, it doesn't seem realistic because a lot of people, who cares if it's realistic? This is what Prabhupada said. Oh, okay. Then now you understand there's no conversation. It's just, okay, Prabhu. Yeah, okay, thank you for that. Mahaprasade Govinde.
Mahaprasade Govinde.
Nama Brahmani Vaikuṇṭha.
Nama Brahmani Vaikuṇṭha.